want to go over like what are the top 3 big themes within the digital asset space right now from our perspective, which we think are the Bitcoin halving cycle, layers, layer 2 networks specifically. There are layer 3s, but we're not quite there yet, and tokenizing real world assets, or RWAs. So going to slide 2 here. First thing is the Bitcoin halving cycles. 3 things I'd point out about this chart is, well, what you're seeing here is the Bitcoin price between each halving, and there have been 4 so far. We just had the 4th one in April of this year. And so firstly, I'd point out that the y-axis here is a logarithmic scale, so you can just see the exponential returns of Bitcoin. Yep. Secondly, you can see that the price of Bitcoin never ended each cycle lower than it began. So it always ends higher, at least historically, and it is a limited history. And then lastly, you can see where we are right now, roughly, in our 4th halving cycle. And who knows where it's going to go.
So that's the top.
Yeah, the very little
right,
short
the
blue line.
light blue. Yep.
Yep. And then onto the next slide, you can see what the historical returns post-halving have been. And if you look closely, you can see 12 months after is when you can expect to see like the highest returns, is when it's most explosive. And interestingly, the altcoin market, which is everything except Bitcoin, also shows a similar return pattern post-halving, even though the halving doesn't directly affect them at all. Going to the next slide, our second big theme would be layers. Just to briefly describe what layers are in crypto, it's basically a secondary transaction channel where we can transact and then we route our transaction details back to the base settlement layer. So in this example, you see Optimism, which is a popular Ethereum layer 2. We would transact with each other, net out our balances at the end, and send it back to the Ethereum ledger, the record of transactions. And that way we can leverage Ethereum's network and all of its users and its security at the same time while benefiting from lower fees and higher transaction speeds. And onto the next slide, you can see the explosive growth of total value locked, or TVL, in layer 2s for Ethereum and Bitcoin. And this is in contrast to the previous crypto bull run in 2021, where there was a big focus on creating new layer 1 chains to be the whole Ethereum killer, kind of like Cardano. Whereas nowadays, it's more like, let's not try to beat Ethereum, let's work with it, on top of it, with layer 2s, and same with Bitcoin. And then going to the next slide, our last big theme. We've done some work on this one too. We just posted a video this week on this subject, which is tokenizing real world assets. This is really a big, obvious use case of blockchain, and we're talking about taking traditional financial assets like stocks, bonds, derivatives, and tangible assets like real estate, paintings, wine, anything, and representing them as digital tokens on a blockchain. And you can see this mosaic here of your TradFi institutions that have all been experimenting with tokenization. Some of them, like Citibank, have been working with public blockchains. BlackRock used Ethereum. Citibank was working with Avalanche. Others, like JP Morgan, Goldman, and HSBC, have actually launched their own private tokenization networks. And onto the last slide, you can just see the total value locked again of RWA protocols on the right, real world assets. So that's the total money deposited or circulating in these protocols being used to tokenize. And on the left, you see what has so far been the greatest use case of this technology, which is tokenizing US treasuries. This has already kind of been done in the form of stablecoins before this, but in the past year, and especially 2024, there's been huge growth in this specifically. And just this year, BlackRock came out with their own tokenized treasury product, which is Build, or Buildle. It's kind of like HODL, where it's build but spelled wrong. And that just multiplied, starting at 100 million in market cap, over 500 million in just a few months.
Hey there, Hedgeye Nation, or if you're not part of Hedgeye Nation, thanks for watching Hedgeye on YouTube. If you haven't already, make sure to click on the button below there. Subscribe to our YouTube page. You can also follow the link in the description to our website to get even more great investing content.